The travel adventures of Mr. Sneaky Duck and Edgar Allan Crow. On to Kyoto and Osaka. We start traveling now. There are a lot of notes today, so you probably want to open up the notes when we start after the reading. Today we're going to read aloud, think aloud. Then we're going to talk about what we learned last time. We're going to practice some of the knowledge that you learned before and learn some new skills. Then you can take a quiz and move on to page 10. Let's start. Mr. Sneaky Duck and Edgar Allan Crow visit the Jishu Shrine in Kyoto, Japan. As I told you before, Mr. Sneaky Duck and Edgar Allan Crow first met in Kyoto. They have lots of Buddhist shrines there. In Japanese, they call these shrines jinja. Mr. Sneaky Duck wanted to get... Excuse me. All right, let's start reading. All right, let's start reading. Mr. Sneaky Duck and Edgar Allan Crow visit the Jishu Shrine in Kyoto, Japan. As I told you before, Mr. Sneaky Duck and Edgar Allan Crow first met in Kyoto. They have lots of Buddhist shrines there. In Japanese, they call these shrines jinja. Mr. Sneaky Duck wanted to go to a very specific shrine. He wanted to go to Jishu Shrine, or in Japanese, Jishu Jinja. And this is the Japanese characters called kanji, and it says Jishu Jinja. He told us that this is the shrine of matchmaking and love. You see, Mr. Sneaky Duck is a hopeless romantic. He wanted a girlfriend since his last girlfriend broke up with him just for looking at another female duck passing by at the mall. Mr. Sneaky Duck insists to this day that he was only looking in the display window at Forever 21 and didn't even see the female duck looking back at him. But his girlfriend sure did, and she has not talked to him since. He is so broken-hearted. I humored Mr. Duck and took both of them to Jishu Shrine in Kyoto, Japan. Mr. Sneaky Duck's dreams came true when two young ladies in kimonos asked to be introduced to them. Rina-chan is the girl in the pink kimono, and Mai-chan is the girl in the blue kimono. Now, in Japan, when somebody, you want to call them Mr., you say san. So you would say Keith-san is my first name, or Rain-san is my last. But for a girl, you would say chan, and for a boy, you would say kun. So Mai-chan is a girl, is the girl in the blue kimono. We later had tea with Rina and Mai-chan. They talked with Mr. Sneaky Duck and Edgar Allan Crow for about an hour. Then it was time to go. We had other places to go and lots of things to see in Kyoto. On the way to see other parts of the temple, Edgar got in an argument with Mr. Sneaky Duck. Edgar said that Rina's kimono was made of pure silk, was handmade, and cost more than $4,000. He also said that Japanese women have been wearing kimonos for 3,000 years and mostly still dress in kimonos daily. Now this is in green because I want you to do some things with the claims in here later in the quiz. Mr. Sneaky Duck argued that Japanese people don't use dollars, they use Japanese yen, and that kimonos couldn't possibly be more expensive than a computer. Edgar insisted that it was a dollar to yen conversion, and it was equal to $4,000. Edgar said he had proof, and he took out his cell phone and showed these pictures to Mr. Sneaky Duck. Is Edgar Allan right? Let's check his claims before we go to the next location. Go to the activity boxes on the left over here. Please complete those, then submit before we move on to the next place. So here was what was on his phone. It shows this is in yen. That sign means yen. And this is the kimono, and this is some other accessories like the belt and stuff. And you can see a picture of it in the window in a fancy store. Kind of looks like hers. All right, let's move on. All right, so the next thing is what we learned last time. Let's look at the outline or the agenda. We learned claims of value and evidence to support those. Remember, we talked about how Japan was beautiful, and we had to first define our terms to talk about what beautiful is, and then we could support our statement that Japan was beautiful by having everything match that definition. So we looked at rice fields and music and everything that uplifted our spirit, which was part of our definition of beautiful. Now we're on to the next item here. Practice our knowledge, and what that's going to be is just the question that I asked you. So we're going to have to look at these facts here, or are they? They're at least claims of fact, and we're going to have to check them on the internet on the quiz. And you're going to have to use valid and reliable evidence to either confirm or refute. Refute means go against what this is claiming, what this is saying to be true. So you're also going to have to ID which types of claims these are. Are they claims of value? Claims of fact? So you have to tell me that in the quiz. Also in the quiz, we're going to have a few of the skills that we're going to learn right now, and those are what's in the notes. And I copied and pasted from several different websites. But to save time, I'm going to go over just a few. This one is a video about some of the shortcuts, and then we're going to look at it ourselves. This goes very fast, so you may want to slow it down a little bit. It says use quotation marks to search for a phrase. Use a minus sign to take a word out. Nothing with chocolate in it. Use the search privately without IP address. New incognito. Track packages without going to the carrier's site. Use an asterisk to find a word you can't remember, maybe a song that you don't know the words to. Yes. Look for similar sites related to cooking light, and then they find things that are related. Find pictures and images. You can get some animation too. That was very fast. If you have to slow it down, you can, but I wanted to look down below here at some of the other ones that they had and see if those, some of them don't work. So just because these are printed here doesn't mean you have to trust them. Use quotes for searching for an exact phrase. So if we put quotation marks in something, I say prohibition in the USA, I maybe want to say the USA, then everything, all the results will have exactly those words. Prohibition in the USA. Next, says used an asterisk. If an asterisk is a star, if you want to leave out a word. So maybe you learn a song, but you don't remember a word, and you can put the asterisk in the middle where the word is that you don't know. If you want a recipe or a website that has everything but, you could put a minus sign and you could say minus chocolate or minus salt. Now, if you want to search just a specific website like time.com, you could type Google site :time.com and then your search term, and that will search only through time.com websites. This one I found very interesting. It says that you can search newspaper archives going back to the mid-1880s. So when you look at that, I right-click and I go open in new tab because I don't want to close this window. And it has all these newspapers. And so if you imagine you're doing a report on prohibition in the USA, that's when they made alcohol illegal. I learned that in history. It was from 1920 to 1933. And I want to find some news or some evidence. And so I'm going to type in prohibition. And I'm going to type something like 22. I want any stories that have prohibition in 1922. And I search the archive. And it says cocktails went up a certain amount. And it says 1922 on Thanksgiving. The federal jury indicts a huge booze conspiracy. So we can look at that. And this is in February 28th of 1925. This is the newspaper everybody got on that day that bought one. And it's from the Independent St. Petersburg, Florida paper. And then it highlights the story that you're talking about. This is called a primary source because it's a source from the time of prohibition. And that might be helpful. Let's go back and we'll learn more about primary sources in a minute. You can compare things using verses. So if I put, bears or a bear versus a gorilla, maybe it will tell me. A silverback gorilla can deflate a tractor trailer tire with his arms. And then it says, meaning no leverage or strength coming from other parts of the body. Listen, bears are massive and strong, but honestly, let's say a grizzly bites a silverback can rip apart the jaws of a bear. Well, come on. This doesn't say anything. I guess they're going to talk about it. I don't know if they would ever really meet in real life. A grizzly bear versus a silverback. I guess you can look at it on YouTube. I don't want to look at it. But you can do those things with verses. This one example is rice versus another type of grain. You can put the word define before anything and the definition will come up. And this one's kind of cool. It says you could play a game Atari Breakout just by searching for Atari Breakout on the images. So when I look at that, I go to images here, and I'm going to put Atari Breakout and see if that's true. And so if I click on, whoa, nothing. It is Atari Breakout. You're supposed to get all these bubbles down, and when you're finished, this line that's hitting it will get smaller and smaller until it's very difficult to hit the ball. But I don't want to show you this. I lose. That is one thing it does. That's crazy. And search images using images. This I want to show you because this is crazy. So we have images here, and I'm going to click on this little camera thing. It says search buy an image. So all you have to do is paste the image URL or upload the image or choose a file. So I'm going to choose a file on my desktop with maybe the girls in a kimono. So it says choose a file, and then I'm going to the desktop. Thank goodness I'm here already. And it's uploading the file, and when it comes up, it says best guess for this image is kimono. And it says visually similar images. And wow, there are a lot. And it's true. So you could just drop a picture in there, and then it will find similar pictures even if you don't know what it's called. You don't speak Japanese or whatever. That's very helpful, I think. And says you can flip a coin. I didn't try that, but maybe you can. Try to flip a coin. Say, give me a love quote. So let's go to all again. And let's see. Whoops. Flip a coin. It says flipping.
Flipping a coin, it's tails.
It says tails before it stopped. Okay. And then what was the other one? Something about love. It says press the mic and say I love you. Alright. That's not so difficult. I love you. He said he didn't get it. He's going to flip a coin again. I love you. It doesn't
Here's
look...
a matching video.
Yeah, here's the matching video. It doesn't do what this says. So, like I said, sometimes it doesn't do what it says. Give me a love quote. Maybe let's try that one. Give me a love quote.
According to Brain a Quote, Martin Luther King, Jr. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that.
That is beautiful. So I guess that's half true. So you can test these on your own and look at these. There are going to be some quiz questions for you. Now, if you want to look down here, it says the rest of the things that we're going to do today. And one is YouTube knowledge. I wanted to show you something that if something is too quick or too slow, so what can we do on the YouTube screen? We can expand it a little bit to a theater mode like this or the full screen. And then if you look on this little gear here, it says HD. When I click on it, this is the quality of the video. That's the top quality where it says HD. You can also do subtitles. Sometimes those aren't exactly correct, but usually I speak slowly so they can come in very correct. You can click on that and it will come up and you can read along with me. Another thing is if I'm speaking too slowly or if I'm speaking too quickly, this is normal speed. You can slow it way down like this. And collect prizes at the end of the journey. I mean, speed it up. Ahead of time for your help, Mr. Raines. That's me. So wow. Here to the agenda. It says what we learned last time. If we look to see what we learned last time. Or you can slow it way down. It doesn't look like we have the sound. Maybe 50. We talked about Wikipedia as a source. So yeah, if it's going too fast, you can slow it down. So you just click on this gear, you go to speed, and then you go to one of these points. 0.75 and 0.5 give you sound, but 0.25 will not give you any sound. You could expand the full screen here too. Alright, let's move on. I said I was going to talk to you a little bit about primary and secondary sources. Sometimes I like using YouTube. This is Rob Redmond's YouTube page, and he has explained it pretty well, so I'm going to use him. Sometimes you can use YouTube to explain things or learn things that you don't know. Let's watch really quickly. It says there's a primary source. Primary source tells you about an event and is from the time of that event. So if you wanted to talk about the World's Fair in 1890, you would have to look up a newspaper from 1890, and you know how now too. If you wanted to find evidence, examples are speeches. So maybe a president gave a speech of something in the past. A photograph, maybe you could see a photograph at the World Fair. Letters, maybe one person wrote another personal letter. There's the 3 T's in there. So these are primary sources that are popping up. Pictures, speeches, letters. Now we're going to move on to secondary sources. It tells you about an event, but it's from the time after the event. Maybe they use primary sources to give you their book about secondary source, the information. So like I said, yeah, maybe a secondary source usually talks about primary sources. It'll talk about a speech or a picture or a letter or an old newspaper article. So we have textbooks are examples of secondary sources, magazines and newspapers, and encyclopedias. So it's asking you if you could tell the difference. Is a speech a primary or a secondary source? You guess, I'm not going to tell you. Alright, I think that's enough. It's a secondary source. This little quiz is too easy for you. Okay, so let's summarize. Today we learned about these search tricks and tips for Google. We learned about how to slow down and speed up a YouTube video. We also learned about primary and secondary sources. And you're going to have to practice claims and find evidence to either prove or support or refute, which means go against what these facts or factual claims are. So good luck and have a good day. Bye-bye.